Welcome back to Beyond Stereo, the Dolby Atmos podcast. I'm Dan Bucknell, and here we talk about the world of immersive technologies aimed at creating more meaningful and emotional experiences for music, film, and just about everything else. Today's guest is Matthew Holmes, an Australian writer and director of films such as Twin Rivers, The Legend of Ben Hole, The Cost, Fear Below, and upcoming film The Sundowner.
Thanks so much for jumping on today and having a chat. And we've been talking for a long time now, but to bring it all back to sort of one conversation and see how everything's sort of going. I'm very excited to have you on, man.
Thanks for having me, mate.
No problem at all. So let's get started. Where did we actually start talking? I don't remember.
No, I don't really remember either. I
think it was Ben Hole days.
Yeah, I think it was going back as far as Ben Hole days, so probably a good 8 years or something now.
Yeah, wow.
It's just the way the industry is. Everyone knows everybody else.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Okay, so yeah, maybe we can talk a little bit about how that all came about, because I know you've been a filmmaker for a long time, and you even sort of told me some of the earlier stuff that you were doing was some ads for the was it the Dogs Go Wacko for Smackos ad?
I worked at an animation company called Anifex in Adelaide, and I worked there for 15 years. I worked straight out of high school when I got a casual job there, making little models and working on sets and things like that, because I showed them some of the animation I was doing in high school.
Cool.
And I stayed there for 15 years. I eventually became a full-time employee at the place. I became one of their head animators and worked on hundreds of TV commercials as an animator, storyboard artist, sculptor, and set builder.
Wow.
So that was a busy 15 years doing that, and certainly laid a foundation for me. And I learnt, in a lot of ways, it was my film school, that job, because I learned on the job. I didn't go to film school. I didn't do any other education outside of Year 12. And while I was working there, I also went off and started making my own live action feature films. And again, that was like my film school as well, learning by doing.
Absolutely. What was your first live action then, feature film?
Twin Rivers.
Right, yes. I don't think I've seen that one, but I have heard you talk about that before. So can you take me through just a little bit of, sort of a main plot, or how that sort of came about?
Yeah, well, it started as I bought myself a DV cam camera, a very expensive DV cam camera. That was the new format, like a professional format that was available to consumers at a good price. This is before the days of high definition. The word high definition didn't exist. So yeah, I decided to shoot a short film, about a 20-minute short film, and we ended up shooting for 4 years and ended up shooting an entire feature. We just sort of grew the plot, kept writing, adding scenes, adding pages, adding more plot as we went, making it up as we go in a way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that's set in the 1930s in the Depression era. There's about two brothers traveling across the country from a regional place all the way to to Melbourne, and it's about their sort of life on the road and how their relationship falls apart and things go wrong and things like that. So it's a drama. It was a period drama. So it was all costumes and cars and lots of lovely South Australian locations.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. I wanted to prove myself as a serious filmmaker, and I wanted to do something that was more serious, more grounded, more showed that I could direct drama, and and something, the kind of movie that I would like to watch. So that's how that one came about. So after shooting for 4 years, it then took me another 2 years to actually put it all together and get the sound and the post done, because I was doing it all on my own money.
How much did you spend of your own money?
Oh, about $35,000.
Okay.
When all was said and done. It was all made with friends and family and mates, and everyone working volunteer. It was a complete pitch in, and everyone helped. It was it's just like an epic short film that just went on and on and on, and it did okay. It got sold to Foxtel, and it played on Foxtel for a number of years. It got a DVD release through a local distributor. It's now available on Amazon Prime. It's now has a sales agent that gets it onto various platforms and things like that. So I did about 5 or 6 years ago, I think I did a a high definition digital restoration of the film.
Oh, cool.
Where I restored the film again from the original DV cam elements, had it regraded, had it upscaled to high definition to try to get it to look better quality, because it doesn't, we didn't shoot at high def, so it doesn't look high def. So we had to upscale it and make it look as good as we could.
How did it go? Did it work?
Oh, it was okay. It looks okay. I mean, look, there's only so much you can do.
Sure.
It doesn't, but it looks a lot better than what it originally did. So, and then I self-released that on Blu-ray and DVD, and they all sold out. And with that high definition restoration, that's the one that the new distributor has managed to get onto Amazon and things like that. So it had some mild success. Didn't have much success in the day. Didn't get into any film festivals except for maybe one or two. And it didn't make any money. I still haven't recouped any of my $35,000. But it was my film. It was my film school film. So
yeah, and that's absolutely still valid. Like that's really important, because I think people sort of do measure films sometimes as how successful they can be, and all of that is very important as well. It is a business at the end of the day, but at the same time, like, it sort of led you towards the other amazing things that you've now done. So that's, definitely worth it.
Yeah, it was. I was hoping it would maybe help me, get some work or maybe get the next film financed. It didn't really do that. I finished it in 2007, and I still struggled for many years to get another film financed after that. I finally got some money to do another short film, which was The Legend of Ben Hall. Again, I thought, well, I'm going to start with a 20-minute short, and I thought I'd run a Kickstarter campaign for it, which was successful, to try to make this short film. And I thought it would be a good teaser, sort of proof of concept for the feature film. We shot for 3 weeks, and the footage, looked so great and it looked so promising that I had some other producers I was working with who said, well, what can we do to keep going and turn this into the Ben Hall full feature? Because you've shot this much of it, let's keep going. So what started a short film sort of experiment, and then we managed to get a little bit more extra money to make The Legend of Ben Hall. Again, we had to do it on a shoestring budget, and we had to do it with a lot of favors, and a lot of people working at, on deferred rates or very reduced rates and things like that. So it was, Ben Hall was a bit more of an overblown version of what Twin Rivers was, which had better cameras, better crew, more actors and all that sort of thing, but still very much felt like an indie film. So
yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So, like, the indie side of that, like, you can think of that as small as opposed to the big, or you can think of it as collaborative without sort of, needing studio approval on certain things. There's so many different elements to that. What would you say is, like, your favorite way to work? Because I know you've sort of seen both sides of this now.
My favorite way to work is absolutely to be in complete and 100% creative control of what I'm doing, both developing it, shooting it, posting it, and most importantly, releasing it. The most control I've had is with the first 3 films I made, Ben Hall, The Cost, and Twin Rivers, and those were the better experiences because I had that control, or I was given that control, or I had a big hand in it.
Yeah.
Where I had virtually no control was Fear Below. Having gone through that and seen the lack of control that I've had pretty much since production began, vowed I would never work that way again. And that's why with my new film that I'm currently working on, The Sundowner, I've gone right back to my indie, fund it myself, raise the money myself, work with a small, independent volunteer cast and crew. Because honestly, it's a better film experience, to go out and make a film with, a dozen people that that you trust, who are passionate, and you gel well with, is such a better film experience than having 60 people all getting paid, everything, having all of your accommodation and everything, but the burden that comes with, which is the lack of control, producers you don't want who are hanging over you and telling you what you can and cannot do. It's awful. So I'd much rather be indie.
Yeah.
Making films the indie way. I don't want to work in Hollywood. I don't want to be subject to that kind of control. It's just a horrible experience. It's not why I get into filmmaking. It's not why I make films.
Look, I've had a small taste of that as well, and I suppose this is something that probably a lot of people are striving towards the Hollywood thing, and I've talked about this before in the podcast as well. Just that this idea of making it feels like you need the studio backing, you need all of these a million people on set, and that's what making it is. And the thing is, it's such a broken way to think about it, and I think part of the whole point of this podcast is to educate and sort of give people a new way to think about how to create things, because my taste of it was also, sort of going to various different places at different levels and realizing the bigger it got, or the bigger sort of production space it got, the less care from all the people that work there, the less time to do anything, crazy budgets, but all of the filmmaking, all the love for it was gone. And it was like, this is just a deadline, and that's all they were sort of worried about. And that is, look, fine if that's, you're treating it like a job, and that's fine. But it's not the reason I got into filmmaking either. So I suppose that's the key thing there. So it's, I guess, finding the best ways to do this that works for you, but also, hits that check box, that really makes you feel something, because that's ultimately why we care, why we want to do this. So
that's right. I don't do it for money.
Yeah.
I hardly get paid a thing to be a filmmaker. Like I said, the only film I've ever made, like got paid a living wage, was Fear Below, and that was only for a portion of a few months. Every other film I've made, I've never been paid a cent. In fact, I've usually lost money because I'm putting my own money in. What money I do have, I'm usually putting into it to make it better.
Yeah. What is the trade-off then? Why do you keep doing this if it is that hard? Because I suppose it is something. It's sort of powerful to say, well, hey, look, this isn't paying in that sense, but what is it paying? Why are you still doing this? That's probably a critical thing that would uncover.
Well, because this is all I've ever wanted to do, and this is what I love to do, and it's what I'm good at. Well, I think I'm good at it. Other people may not think so. I love it. I want to do it. I have a complete passion. There's nothing else I want to do in my life than make movies. So years ago, I decided that I would not give myself any other option but to become a filmmaker. I didn't have a backup job. I didn't go study law, or I had no other career prospects, and I still have no career prospects outside of being a filmmaker. So I have no choice but to keep going, regardless of all the setbacks and the lack of money. And I've come so close so many times to breaking into the next level. And I kind of did with Fear Below, but then it quickly crashed and burned. And I'm back to square one again. So, and I've had so many films nearly get financed and nearly reach that crest. Can always smell the success and the payoff from all of the years of work coming, but it just is a perpetual delay. And so you always hang on for another 6 months, another 12 months, another 18 months, and you just keep hanging on and hanging on and hanging on. So that's why I keep doing it, because I get that sense that I'm gonna break through, soon. So, it is absolutely an industry of how long can you hang on for, and that's if you're not prepared to hang on. So that's why I do it. But I've also reached that point where having gone through this, that compared to what it was 20 years ago when I first got into it, I've learned a few things about both myself and the industry. And I don't want to work in Hollywood, I've learned. I don't want to participate in the Hollywood machine. I don't want to be hired by a studio to direct a film. I don't want to deal with board decisions. I don't want people standing over me, telling me what to do. I don't want people telling me how to spend the budget. I want people telling me how many hours I've got to shoot a scene. I want to have the control of all those things, because I do better work when I have the control. And I know what it is that I'm trying to achieve and what I need to do it. And if I have someone else coming on board and telling me, well, no, you've got one day to shoot that, and that's it. You have to get it all done in one day. And I would say, well, I can't. That's impossible. It's not going to work out. Well, you've just got to figure that out and do it. And then I try, and inevitably I'll fail because it's not, doesn't work.
And the people who say these things as well probably aren't even filmmakers.
They're not filmmakers.
They're finance people.
Their finances, they don't have that passion and they don't have that care. This is just this callous, cold business to them, and and they think that it should take that you should be able to do it like that. That's not how I work, because I care about the end result very, very passionately. I care about the end result, and having gone through the experience of Fear Below, and then now shooting The Sundowner, which I'm running exactly the way I want. I still have parameters and I still have, restraints, but I'm still able to do it and run the set the way I want, shoot it how I want, and the results are infinitely better.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's, and it's a far more pleasant experience, and everyone's there for the right reasons. Because you're right, when you start working on, professional things, and you realize everyone's jaded, no one's got their heart in this. They're trying to do this as fast as possible, and you're just thinking, why are you all doing this? Why are we not giving ourselves the time to get this right?
Yeah, 100%. I've always likened that to, say, like a nurse or a doctor who is, working in a hospital. They're specifically to help people and make them feel better. If they're, not in the best mood, or maybe even just, there are people that probably just shouldn't be in the industry because they're not caring about the person. They're kind of blunt or rude, or, not really thinking about anybody's emotions as well as, their general care. Then it's like, well, what are you doing here then? Because this is what we do here. We look after people. That's what we do here. So if it's not it's right. So it's the same with the films, I suppose. If it's there's always going to be that business side of things, which is important, and that has to happen. And because the Hollywood model does exist, it actually does need that. However, does it breed the best, emotionally driven, passionate filmmakers? Absolutely not. A lot of them overlap, and there's some, obviously, the greats are sort of throughout all of that. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly not the model responsible for that. Those people were great anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's like they just kind of got into that system it was their mechanism to make these films, but it's not because of the machine that, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's their passion, their idea that was the thing.
Yeah. And unless you are someone like a Christopher Nolan who has so much respect and command, even within the system, they can work within the system because they've got the kudos and the respect, and people are going to
they trust you, I guess.
They're going to trust him, and when he says this is the way I'm going to do it, they don't argue. When I go and say this is the way I want to do something, I get told that they know better, and they don't know better, but they think they know better. So I get superseded, and I don't do good work that way. So for me, it's about, I want to find a happy medium where I can work in the indie world, make not low budget, but lower budget films that can still pay me a living wage, pay the people that I'm working a living wage, and we can do this over and over again and make films and tell stories that we're passionate about within the budget levels that that makes sense. That's what I'm trying to build that model somehow.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, that's like the dream.
Yeah, but I'm trying, and hopefully I'll get there. But with the industry being as broken as it is at the moment, just broken, that it is really hard, because at the end of the day, you do need money to make movies, and it's hard to make movies make any money at all.
That's true.
They need to make a Video Killed the Radio Star song. They need to write, Netflix killed the film industry.
It's true. A lot of people have been talking about that. So I suppose the idea, for anyone who's not familiar with that, like obviously this whole idea of streaming, the problem a lot of filmmakers have with it is that it takes you away from going to the movie theater, and that's where filmmakers tend to really make the money back, because it's bums on seats. It
killed the rental, and it killed the DVD
physical as well.
Market as well. It killed It killed the two largest revenue pools of that movies have ever had. Obviously, cinema,
crazy.
but in the 90s, cinema attendance, while it was bigger than what it is now, it still was not I mean, look at Shrek 2, for example, right? That film made, I don't know, $300 million, something like that, back in the day. It made double that, if not more, just in home rental video DVD sales afterwards. All the studios and filmmakers knew that there was a bigger chunk of the pie coming down the end. So there wasn't this focus on box office weekend that there was that today, because if that's where you've got to make the money, because there's nothing else coming after that. So what we had was, we had the cinema, and if you didn't quite do as well as you hoped, you didn't worry about it because you knew there was this monstrous cash coming from when you release it on DVD and video rentals. And then, of course, you also had huge TV sales afterwards. Now, because of streaming, it has destroyed free-to-air. It has destroyed the rental markets and the DVD home entertainment market, and it has severely kneecapped the theatrical experience. You've got film studios collapsing left, right, and center. You've got film crews out of work all over the place. It's
mayhem.
We've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
Because we've undervalued films, and now everyone expects to just get everything virtually for free.
I have a question for you. Obviously, so this is a reality of the industry, and it is something that we're both across. It's affected us both, and a lot of our colleagues and friends and sort of broader film family. How do we get out of this? Do you think, without crushing all the companies that we obviously don't have really a say, but it's also look, okay, those things exist now. That's great for some people, not great for us, but essentially, that's just our reality. So what do we do about this in a positive sort of way to try and pull back the industry a little bit? Do you have any ideas on how to do that? I've got a few myself, but I would like to hear your take on that. How do we strengthen this again?
The only thing what's going to happen, clearly the writing's on the wall, what's happening with Netflix now is that Netflix is just going to become pay TV again, and you're going to have to pay more. They're going to keep raising their prices every month, and you're going to have ads and all this stuff, and we're just going to go back to being pay TV, except for streaming. I hope that maybe that will help increase, revenue, and the model can change. I mean, ultimately, something's got to change because eventually these places need content. They need stuff, but we can't feed the machine.
Yeah.
If there's nothing there. So
I think you hit the nail on the head right there before, because like with that sort of idea coming back to the concept of streaming and then eventually turn it back into what it was, but they're in charge of it, right? So cool, good business strategy for them. But yeah, for us, obviously, we're the ones sort of trying to make the content that then helps them do that. And we now need them, they need us. And there's this sort of disconnect. So basically replacing the home video rental kind of thing. If streaming is still existing though, how do we do that? What would that look like? Maybe, my first thought is just make stronger films and educate towards doing that. And we're all trying to do that. And the more good content there is out there, then the more likely it's going to be sort of bought in a proper way. But that's never been guaranteed. It's very, very difficult still when they're holding all the cards. So how would that look? What do you think that would be, another platform?
Well, I think it has to be, the Tubies and things like that of the world. I think they're sort of heading in the right direction. I think they're the kind of, which is sort of pay-per-view or advertising driven, like it's,
right.
And the more people that watch your film, the more people see the ads, and so the more revenue share you get. There's got to be something reciprocal, because it's filmmakers. I see it a bit like filmmakers like myself, and whether we're independent or whether we're big studio backed filmmakers, we're like we're like a primary industry, like farming. We go out there, we build this stuff up, we make it from the ground up. It's expensive, it's hard work, we're passionate about it, and it's, and Coles and the Woolworths of the world and all those companies, they're always undercutting the farmers. They're always not paying them what they're worth. They're always trying to, so they can sell, make bigger profits in their stores and things like that. And of course, the quality of the produce inevitably suffers because of that.
Of course, yeah, same thing, yeah, absolutely.
But and Coles, but they turn over billions a year, as does Netflix turns over billions. They're doing okay. And when I say Netflix, I'm not specifically meaning Netflix. I mean any company like it, like the
all
Amazon
streaming.
And Apple. There's the streaming model. I'm just using Netflix as the
total the word for it.
The word for it. So, and we're primary creators. Like we're a primary industry.
We're the farmers of this.
Yeah, we're the farmers of this industry, and so we need to be able to make a living doing this. Otherwise, we will have to fold up. We just have to be paid correctly for the work. We need to be paid for doing the work, which is really hard to get investment, and that's because you can't get investment because there's no proof of profit coming down the end. No, that's why there's no investors, because investors are smart enough to go, where am I getting my money back? And we can't prove it, therefore they don't invest. And then secondly, when the film does well or people are watching it, and there needs to be, it needs to come back to the filmmaker. There's too many middlemen chewing up that ground, of profit, and it's just not going back. By the time the pie gets chewed up so much, but by the time there's anything to give to the filmmakers as a reward or a back end or anything, it's gone. It's gobbled up.
It's the peanuts left at the end.
Yeah. So we need to. I'm hoping that the digital age and the benefit of the digital age we'll see less and less middlemen. There was plenty of room for the middlemen back in the the heydays of the 90s and the 2000s. There was sort of enough for everyone, and the middlemen did well out of it, and they also did their job in getting it out there. But we're not in that world anymore. I'm hoping that the bridge to the filmmaker and the audience is going to get, there's going to be less middlemen there. And there are going to be platforms and deals that can be made with platforms directly, filmmaker to platform, and then it's straight to the audience. That's where I think it's got to go, because there's not enough revenue. I'm hoping that audiences can find this new way in once it because the Netflix is going to go up and up and up and up and up, and before it's going to be like $30 a month and $40 a month, and then people who want to subscribe to 5 or 6 of these different streaming services are going to go, I cannot spend $400 a month on streaming, and they'll look for the other way.
Yes,
and this new way will be cheaper
and helping us more
than all of that. You'll get more content, and you'll get more, access to more things and more interesting things and more high quality things. And as you pay for it, or you watch it with ads or whatever, that is being shared back to the filmmaker.
That seems the ideal sort of the way. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only way I can see a sustainable future, because streaming's here to stay. You're not going to get people to, be like me and just collect movies.
Not everyone does that. Absolutely not. Which is really cool.
That's a niche audience, and it'll never go away. Like records, there'll always be people who want physical media, but it's never going to be what it was. So we've got to find a way to exist within the streaming, downloading model. We just can't just keep making it more expensive, and piracy is not a good option either, because nobody makes any money that way.
That's true.
I don't think anyone's really got an answer. I think all of Hollywood is scratching their heads, and because they want to make money, they want to keep making movies, and they're probably just as frustrated as I am trying to figure all this out.
There's a disconnect there. I think people just sort of assume that their favorite celebrities are so well off that it's not bothering them, but that's probably actually not true to even think of it like that. Because those kind of movies that they're in, though, it's just a bigger scale, but it matches where they're at. It's the same thing,
That's
though.
Right.
So
but
I agree.
They are the 1%. Of the film industry. They are the tip of the iceberg. The celebrities and the famous filmmakers and the people who are working at that top tier A level, they are a tip of an iceberg of an industry, and you have the support groups and all the people who work within the industry are under the water, and they're really the people that struggle the most. And that's look, I've had conversations with filmmakers well above the ladder with me on my climb to becoming a full-time filmmaker. I've got directors I've spoken to much higher than me that we've all been going, we just don't know how, we just can't get our films financed. No one wants to get our films off the ground. We've got all these great scripts and we just can't find the money. And these guys have had success. These guys are filmmakers you wouldn't think would be struggling.
Yeah.
But they are. And that's the hard reality. When I look at myself and go, well, I'm struggling, it's so hard. I'm like, well, it doesn't. You have this idea that it's going to be easier the older you get and the higher you climb, that it opens up, it gets easier. Oh, I've made it. I'm getting, it's flowing now. It doesn't. It's as hard now as it was then, and it's probably going to be just as hard the older I get.
If not worse, because there's harder things happening all the time as well.
That's right. And things are always changing.
That's
so
right.
It's you just got to accept that this is a difficult industry, and it doesn't change. It just is. So anyone who wants to get into it, don't think it's gonna get better and better. You may get better and better opportunities, and you may get more and more pay, but it'll always be a struggle because it's sort of an industry of struggle. It's kind of defined by it. Have you ever watch the making of your favorite movie, and then dig deep on the production problems that it probably had? And there's not a film gets away with it. Everything's films are birthed with a lot of pain, every one of them. So there's no escaping it.
Yeah, completely. I think there's a huge topic there we could sort of go into, because I mean that's true in every single film, like you said, and every single thing that I've ever worked on has always been like, how are we going to finish this? How are we going to get it done? It's impossible right now until it's not, and you find a way. So that's kind of inspiring right there, just to sort of go, well, things that were impossible for me, we've actually achieved. That's cool. And then sort of that momentum can help you, I guess, be in the right mindset and, have the skills to problem solve as you go into harder problems. So that's helpful and cool. It doesn't guarantee anything. And like you said, the industry just in itself, just as, the industry is a hard thing to be a part of because it is changing and growing all the time. But at the same time, it is, it's almost sometimes feeling like we're on a bit of a sinking ship, and we are struggling to try and do great things when, there's not a lot of reward for that. It's not as easy as it maybe once was to make things that are great seen. So it's partly because there's so many things that are great as well, but there's a flood of things that aren't taking over as well. Yeah. So I see what you're saying.
It's a different world. Like, it's not the world. I wanted to get into movies in the 90s. I grew up, born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s and the 90s, really started trying to be a filmmaker in the 2000s. And the world of the 90s is the film world that I wanted to get into. That was the industry I wanted to be part of. The world that filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino, one of those guys that sort of was birthed in the 90s.
Right, yeah.
And that's the kind of filmmaker, or that's the kind of filmmaking world I was anticipating entering and going into and working towards. But in my 20-year climb since that point to get there, the industry changed. So here I am, ready to sort of go into filmmaking in my mid-40s, and with all of this filmmaking experience, and now a better scriptwriter and director than I was in my 20s, I'm trying to make movies like that, but the industry changed, the whole landscape changed. Now it doesn't really look like that anymore. It's not the same world.
Yeah.
So movies still exist, but in the same way, but the whole landscape of the industry changed. So, and what's it going to do in the next 10 years?
Well, that's
No
it.
idea.
I suppose,
No
yeah,
one
it's,
knows.
it's about being, I guess, adaptable and figuring out how to survive in, an ever-changing
Yeah.
sort of thing. So, I
And
mean,
now in the last 2 years, we've just had the AI curveball
surge. Oh, yeah.
thrown into the mix. And now there's other artists like digital artists and graphics, 3D graphics guys that are all going, what
What
do
do
we
we do
do
now?
now?
Absolutely. It's been something that, has the potential to stop a lot of people being able to get the work that they would have had, because it's actually quite realistic in a lot of ways. And I applaud the people that have made that in that sense. If it's stealing people's jobs, though, no applause for that. That's not a good thing. But I suppose if you're using the technology as it grows and finding ways to coexist with it, then that's just helpful. So, like, I use
Yeah.
AI for certain things all the time, and I really like that. And then there's other things I would not use it for, just out of sort of morality. Like I've got my own reasons I would or wouldn't use it for something. But I guess, yeah, back to the adaptability there. So in this sort of climate of things changing and growing, and we've kind of just got to find a way to keep going. And I just want to take it back to one of your movies, The Cost, as well, because that was one that I was really impressed with. Even on a low budget or a lower budget than you've worked on before, and with everything that you tried to pull off from that, how were you sort of using what you had around you to make that happen? Because you did make that film. It wasn't a failure by any stretch. It was a movie that you set out to do with limitations and nailed it. So that's something really cool I wanted to go into. How did you stay adaptable in this sort of world of filmmaking now to make that movie?
It really just came about because, again, couldn't get any other films off the ground, and so it really just became, I've got to go out and make another movie. I've got to keep active.
Yeah.
There was no intention to that film outside of me just wanting to tell a story I was passionate about and do it within the budget realms and with the tools and resources that I had. So it was made in, I guess, from a filmmaker's perspective, from a very pure intention. I just wanted to make a really good movie that had something to say with people I wanted to work with, and how do we do it on this very small amount of money, and give it the best chance of recouping that money. I looked at who I had, what actors I had, what cameras I had, what locations I thought I could get access to, and then I just tried to come up with a story that would fit that. You're basically looking at what you've got to build with. Here's my pile of wood. I can't purchase new wood. That's the wood I've got. So what can I build with my wood? That's sort of the way to look at it.
Yeah, reverse engineer it.
Yeah, but what happens usually, and Ben Hall and The Cost, and I'm applying it now to the Sundowner, is that if you start building with your little pile of wood, you end up getting more wood given to you. Like, it's once you start it starts building its own energy, and it'll grow, and more people will come, and more investment will come, and more opportunities will come. So when I started Twin Rivers, I had no idea how I was going to finance that, or get it all done, but I got it done. Ben Hall, I had no idea that I didn't even intend to make a feature, but I started it with a short, and then I had no idea if we could expand it to a feature, but we got there. The Cost, I started with something small, and it just kept growing. I got more money, I get more opportunity, and then it gets to where it is now. If you got something that you want to do, and of course you've got to be modest with it. You can't go silly and try to make Gladiator on $10 or anything. But if you start it, the starting will generate the buzz, and it'll get there. If you think you've got to have all your plan in front of you, you have to know exactly how you're going to get from A to Z. You try to wait until that's all figured out, which is usually what we all do, is we wait until we know we've got a guaranteed film at the end of it. Then no one ever starts. I would say to anybody, just start. Have a bit of a rough game plan and a hope of how you're going to get there. But if it's just getting from A to C, and that's all you can figure out for now, just get to C, because getting to C will help you get to F, will help you get to T. that's sort of what I'm doing with the Sundowner. We just started with one block of filming, 2.5 weeks. Let's just get 25% of the film shot. Beyond that, we don't know how we're going to finance it. We don't know how we're going to get to the end. We just know we'll get there if we start. And now that we've shot 25% of it, we're starting to see opportunities starting to arise through that. And I think would be my advice to filmmakers.
That might be the answer to this question of how to survive in the industry. I think that's the answer. It's actually, you don't have to have it all figured out all at once. It's actually more about understanding whatever you're in, work with that, see what you can do, and then opportunities do come when you are open-minded and working with it. I suppose that's it. You know what I mean? Like you're proof of that with all the movies that you're making. But yeah, the cost I can see when I saw that at the screening with you guys. That was extraordinary, really, really cool. Because I watched you sort of, posting a lot of stuff about it and all of that before. And then, to see it sort of finished there was exciting. And I've just watched it the other night again as well. I've got it on the DVD. So yeah, it's really, really cool to see that, something that I don't know what exactly the budget was, but it looks very, very, very good. And, it stands up against any, Hollywood movie. It's you can't tell that it's an independent production, or there's nothing that stands out and says, oh yeah, that's probably a low budget one. It doesn't have that. It says good.
That's what's good about modern filmmaking is that we've got the tools of the professional at our fingertips now. We've got editing software, sound software. We've got cameras that people can buy and afford that are nearly as good as what the Hollywood are using. And so, a lot of those barriers are down now. Those barriers were up in the 90s. We couldn't, you had to shoot on 35 mil and all that sort of thing. So those barriers have come down, which is a benefit of technology. And this goes back to, again, how to survive in the industry. Is it if you're going to be an artist in any kind of form in this industry, whether you're a director or a composer or whatever, you just have to be prepared to take a risk. You have to be a risk taker.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared to fail, and accept that you might fail. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They want a guaranteed job, or they want a guaranteed outcome. If you're going to be in this industry, be prepared to take a risk and be prepared to go out on a limb with a few things. Put yourself in a situation, and and don't ask anybody to do anything that you aren't prepared to do yourself. I have to ask. I ask a lot of filmmakers to come along with me on these rides, and they don't get paid to work on the film. But I don't get paid to work on the film either. And I'll work longer hours, and I'll work 10 times harder than they will anyway. So you've got to be prepared you have to be prepared to do what you're asking anyone else to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and suffer in the trenches with them.
Well, that's the real work, I suppose. If you're all there together, everyone's like headed towards the same goal. That is paramount, I think, in the translation of what the audience sees at the end,
Yeah, exactly. And so, and just be in it for the right reasons, and work with the people who are in it for the right reasons. If you're working with people that are simply there because they want a paycheck, or, they have to pay off their home because by renting gear and you can't afford it, well, find someone else.
That's right. Yeah.
Another way.
It's the wrong reason. I mean, that's part of it, but it's just not the whole thing. It has to be both. Yeah.
If you can afford to, what I call, throw the machine at it, which is Hollywood, a huge budget, everything's paid for, you've got all your executive producers and production managers and everything like that. That's throwing the machine at a project. You can throw a machine at a project if you've got money, and the machine will run, and you'll get a film. It'll pump it out, and everyone will get paid. And but when the machine makes it, it's going to come with its compromises and problems. But if you can't afford the machine, to throw the machine at it, you got to do it another way. You've got to do it a bit more homegrown. You've got to sort of home make it, and that's kind of but having seen the machine being thrown at it and having done homemade, for myself as a filmmaker, I kind of want to find a way to blend the machine and the.
That's it. Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing here. Even. That's exactly that. It's blending the two, sort of seeing what the top level does, learning from it, and experiencing as much as I can of what works, what doesn't work, what I like, what I don't like, and all the moral reasons for things. And the machine doesn't always produce good content. And that's what we sort of know that in industry. It's certainly...
And the experience is not always good.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I don't ever want to go through another experience like I did on Fear Below. Whereas on The Cost, I had a fantastic filmmaking experience, and the film is one I'm proud of and one that I stand behind, and it was born of passion, and I'm proud of it. But
you should be.
Fear Below was not that. It was the opposite. It's compromised, and it's not the film I set out to make, and it's not something I'm hugely proud of. So it's but I got paid more, whereas I got paid nothing for The Cost. So.
Well, it shows where your priorities are, I suppose. It's I think that's something I can believe in and trust in way more. If you're prepared to go all the way for something that you're not even getting paid for, I'm going to trust that well more than something that was easy to so for example, when I say easy, I'm talking about the paycheck happens, sure, but the passion's gone, or it's not necessarily your passion that's gone, but the intent and the real weight at the end doesn't hit the same because of this. And so I suppose, I will trust the thing where it does every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yes, exactly. And it's always going to be hard. That's the other thing I've learned. That working with the machine, you think, the machine does it. It's easy. It's not.
No.
Your experience making a film is going to be just as hard, whether you're doing it the homemade way or whether you're going to do it the machine way. It's going to come with pain either way. You just got to experience which version of it you are happy to go with. And I think having done it, I now know, well, you know what? I'd rather, if I'm going to suffer for this, I want to suffer that way. I'll suffer the homemade
on your own terms.
I'll ultimately get a better result anyway. I'm not going to get paid as much, but I'm going to have a better result, and I'll be more proud of my work, and I'll have a better experience doing it.
And that's what this whole thing is about anyway, right? Like, we're trying to make experiences for people. If you didn't have one while making it, what's the point if you don't love it? You know what I mean?
That's right. And I think you'll get audiences are going to have a better film if there's passion behind it. Every time they'll like it more. They'll get a lot more out of it. So, I'm more interested in that. If I was offered millions of dollars to direct a Spider-Man film, I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't want to go through that experience. So,
Very fair.
I'll never have to make that choice because no one's ever going to offer me Spider-Man 17.
Well, I suppose, look, that sort of thing of, there's a lot of, sequels and all this sort of debate a lot of people talk about. And look, that machine clearly works. Otherwise they, sort of wouldn't do it. So cool. But then again, all these people in the industry that are sort of working on those things, a lot of them are just like us as well. So the thing is, I don't want to go too far, like myself, into slamming the movies, because there are people that are genuine, good, working people that work on these things, as well as sort of, the head sort of AI, whatever you want to call it, the decision-making process at the top that says, we're going to make another sequel because it makes money. But then, I don't want to slam all the people that have actually done really good work on it. So it's I think, more about the community than the actual end product. And then the end product being the filmmaking process, it's always about the experience. So it's about the people more than the thing. And then it's about the actual thing, like the end result experience, rather than what it is, but why, or how it feels to be that thing for the audience. So I think those two things are critical, and it really just is people, and the experience and how people feel about things and why any of this matters. Because otherwise, what are we doing here? We're not doing anything important. If it doesn't matter in this way, none of it's for anything. So I think that's a key thing. You have to do what you love. You have to do it in the way that works for you, that you can get passionate about. Otherwise, none of it works. None of it's worth anything. So, I mean, that's clearly what we're doing here.
Well, it's not, film is an artist's medium,
It is.
And so, it always is a fine line between the two, between the business and the art of it. But And look, yeah, people obviously go to the sequels and the tentpoles and the remakes and the reboots. They make money, people go, and occasionally we get a good one. They're not all bad.
I agree.
But and I don't want to stop that, or I don't want to, because they employ a lot of people, and sometimes you get
Totally.
really good films, and so I just think we should. I just look back to the '90s as just a better time for the quality of movies. We had the tent poles, but we also had a lot of middle budget, and we had low budget as well. And in all that scale, there was great work being done. But now things, because it's so hard to make films make money, because we've lost all the revenue means
From streaming and all of that, yeah.
yeah, and the piracy, that is also another curveball. And television changed, and cinema going changed, and we've now got social media distractions, and we've got TikTok distractions. We never had any of that before.
True.
Everything's changing. So I just think, well, what was my original point? I think it was that, I think we just had better. It's too separate now. You're either working in millions of dollars making Jurassic Park 15, or you're struggling down here in the sort of $1 or $2 million. And if you're not doing that or that, you're working here in the streaming world with a decent budget, but you're working for the streamer.
Yeah.
It's really hard to it's just really hard.
It
It's
is.
just
I can see. There's a lot of frustration from so many, of our filmmaking friends who are all experiencing different levels of this, and it does trickle through the entire industry, as we were saying before. But I suppose like what I would love to, think about a little bit further is, there's got to be a positive thing that we can take from this and go, well, kind of like how you were saying before. So the streaming thing, that model exists, and how do we use that, like AI, where it has the power to take jobs, but at the same time, it's also got the power, if used well, to enhance the ability to create jobs. How do we use it for that? So it's not the thing in itself that is bad. It's how it's used. Yeah, it's
like all technology. It's usually
Exactly.
it's only in its application that it's going to be good or bad.
That's
So
right. So how do we use it for
know.
good? That's maybe something to think about for people.
It is a good question, but it's also not my department.
Fair enough.
I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out how to be a filmmaker,
Sure.
and so there's better minds than mine. I'm trusting that they're working on it.
Yeah, and I'm sure people are. I thought it was something
Yeah.
interesting to sort of note. That
Yeah.
with all of this going on, it's very easy to get cynical about it, but at the same time, it's like, well, maybe there's another way to think about this.
Yeah.
And
there must be. There's
Yeah.
always a different way to think about something, and people are smart and people are creative. And someone was creative enough to come up with the idea of Netflix one day,
True.
and it revolutionized things. And now we need someone to be clever enough to come up with something else that's going
To
to
fix
benefit filmmakers and also benefit the person who creates it.
Yeah.
Because I just think the streaming model was created for the benefit of who created the streaming model, not filmmakers.
That's right.
And so there has to be something, and maybe a really smart filmmaker will come up with that because he's, got that in mind. But that's not. I can't think of it. I've got to. That's not where my strengths and skills lie.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully somebody does, because I think, that it is in need of some sort of rejuvenation here for us.
When the industry needs a change, the change comes, and we are in need of a change, and it's probably coming. I don't know when, but something's going to shake it up.
Yeah. Well, luckily we're all creatives, so someone will have the right mind for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll let them come up with it, and in the meantime, I'm only focusing on the things that really matter to me, and those are write strong scripts with strong characters, tell great stories and tell them well. That's all I really want to focus on, and I'm not interested in using AI to write my scripts. I'm not interested in watching AI generated imagery unless it's a visual effect or something that
Right.
that I can't shoot or I can't film.
Yeah, well, that's what it's for.
Okay, it's just that's the same as using visual effects. I know that with people using AI to write scripts or edit things or create content, that none of that is of interest to me, because that just means. And one of the things that doesn't interest me is because it becomes about it just becomes about writing a prompt. My brother, who's not a filmmaker, could write a prompt and punch out a script, so there's nothing of him in it.
Yeah.
He can do. If I sit there, and I think that's the thing with AI is, if someone says to me, "I made a film with AI, watch it," and I go, "I don't want to watch it. I don't care." Because it would have been roughly the same thing it would have done if I had typed in what you had typed. I want to see what someone else has created. I want to see someone else's talent, someone else's imagination come up with something. Now I want to watch something because someone made it, not a computer because someone typed in a prompt.
Yeah.
Why hire Matthew Holmes to direct a movie when Joe Bloggs can sit and type just as much as Matt can type a prompt? There's, outer space battle scene, please. We both get the same result.
Yeah, you're
There's
right.
nothing either of us in there. So therefore, it's not personal. So
I agree.
I have no interest in AI because it's not person dependent. It's just prompt dependent, and anybody can type a prompt. Yeah. I want to write my script. I want to do. Don't learn to write my script. Don't paint my art. Don't make my movies.
Because I like doing these things.
But if you can sort the filing system for the movies, and you can catalog all the shots, or you can do something that is a mind-numbing, repetitive, non-skilled thing, great.
Easy. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that.
It's the idea of I want the factory to build the car, but I still want a human to design it. Don't get AI to design the car. Get the AI to build it once you've designed it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the way we should be thinking about the use of AI tools.
I agree, and that's how I like to use them as well. I have on occasion.
There's no problem with that.
Yeah, that's right. I have on occasion used it to go through and go, hey, so I don't even remember what I wrote. Can you analyze this and tell me how many times this thing happened, and then I can add it into my story. So it's like about the script, not writing it for me, but it kind of it's helping me self-edit and keep going. Those kinds of things is how I use it. So when I say I use AI to write scripts, that's what I mean, not for me, because that takes all the fun out. I want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we're doing the same things, but
yeah, it does the things that you just can't be bothered doing, or that would take you too much time.
That's right. Yeah, it's not the creative things; it's the analytic things that are, the annoying tasks.
Mathematical kind of.
That's right.
And that's where I don't. That's using your tool and your technology in a good way.
Appreciate that.
I'm also, and that's why I'll never learn to become I'll never learn to use creative AI tools, because I want to, even if I'm the last remaining filmmaker that writes his own scripts and shoots with real actors, I'll die on that hill. I'm never going to be using generative AI for creative purposes. It'll only ever be as tools to help. No, I'd rather be a dinosaur of a relic gone by, and that'll be what I do. I'm not interested in watching or creating AI generative films. I mean, I guess people send me links all the time. Look at this new AI short film, and I never watch it. I don't care.
Yeah, no, that's totally valid and fair enough. I totally agree with that. I think that there's a lot of cool things that are coming out that they can do now, but it's if it's not for actual good reason, then it's like, well, that's just a random thing.
By an artist. If it's not an artist's work, I'm not interested in seeing it.
That's right, because we care about artist work, absolutely. So thanks so much for coming on the podcast today, man. Appreciate your time, and a lot of fun to be had with going into the future of filmmaking, and we can't wait to see what else you do.
Thank you very much, and I hope what we've discussed today to our listeners is there's something to be gleaned from it, and they can apply what we've learned and what we've discovered and apply it to their own experiences and their own projects. I hope it's been helpful in some way.
Absolutely, I'm sure it has been. Thanks very much, man. I'll speak to you very soon.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks, bud.